Hello, YouTube. So today we are going to be playing Fallout 4 as JFK, or John F. Kennedy, who was the 35th President of the United States, and I'm basically going to explain the rules of it. Basically, this whole challenge is we cannot use any armor, so we have to wear suits. Obviously, he's the President, and he only really wears suits. And we can only use snipers, because obviously he was assassinated with a sniper, so we can only use snipers in this game. So those are really the only rules. We can't kill enemies with pistols, melee weapons, and basically that's it. Now we're going to get the special stats later because, knowing me, of course I already messed it up. So we'll get that to when we actually leave the vault. But it's kind of interesting how in this game, though, the world ends by nuclear detonation, which, if you actually paid attention in history class, you would know that JFK was one of the figures who actually prevented that, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, so I think that's very interesting. You know the drill if you play this game before. Run to the vault, the nuke goes off, get frozen, wife gets shot, and now you're looking for your son, Sean. So I came out of the cryogenic pod as per usual, but there was also a pretty big problem I had to deal with. So in order to pick up the Pip-Boy, you cannot have any enemies around you, so that meant no rad roaches, because you have a lot of rad roaches in the Vault 111. Now, this was a pretty big problem because I couldn't kill the rad roaches, because obviously I can only kill enemies with a sniper. So what I had to do was I had to lock basically all the rad roaches out, so I could pick up the Pip-Boy with no problems. So I was able to get the Pip-Boy, and now we're going to be heading up to the surface. So I basically want to explain what's going to be the special stats that we're going to use. So for strength, strength really isn't that important because presidents aren't really that strong. Perception, we're going to need a perception of 8 for one specific perk, and that's obviously the sniper perk. Endurance, we don't really need a lot of endurance. Charisma, of course, JFK is probably the most charismatic president. That would be one of the most charismatic presidents we ever had, so he's going to have to be up to 9. Intelligence should be at least in the middle. He was most presidents are pretty smart, obviously, to be a president, so he would have to have some decent amount of intelligence. And agility, he's going to have pretty terrible agility, mainly because he has to actually dodge bullets. And then luck, I wouldn't say JFK has a lot of luck, so that's why those special stats are like that. So I officially exit the vault and ready to go to the wasteland. So I go to Sanctuary Hills, and there I'm going to meet up with Codsworth. So me and Codsworth go search around the neighborhood for Sean, and he's obviously not in there. And then, of course, I had Codsworth do all the killing, because I can't kill anybody until I get a sniper. Now, one very good sniper that I knew from experience was a hidden sniper that's located by the Museum of Witchcraft in a hollowed rock. So on the way to the Museum of Witchcraft, I stopped by the robotics disposal ground, where I'm going to go pick up a Fat Man and a mini nuke so I can sell it to Arturo for ammo in Diamond City. One thing on the way to Museum of Witchcraft that I thought was absolutely hilarious was that I saw a Deathclaw through vats, but not too far away there was this guy. He was selling alcohol, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing out in the middle of nowhere, and you have a Deathclaw that's not even that far away? So I finally get to the Museum of Witchcraft, and no, I'm not going to fight the Deathclaw inside. I'm only level 1. And then I'm going to get the Hardened Sniper, which is a pretty good sniper for being at level 1. And even though it was still a pretty far distance, at least it's a decent weapon. On the way to Diamond City, I saw something pretty funny. There was this encounter about this guy who was accusing someone of being a synth, so I'm like, I don't even care, to be honest. So I just let the guy kill him, and it turns out he was a synth. Unfortunately, I had to swim in the river a lot, so I had half my health taken from radiation. It's just annoying. Can't fight enemies. And I only had 4 bullets at the time, so I couldn't do much. So we're finally going to be entering Diamond City after all that swimming in irradiated water, and we're going to meet up with Piper.
A new guy.
So I finally meet up with Arturo and sell all my stuff that I don't need, like my Fatman, my pistols, and get a whole bunch of caps. But unfortunately, he did not have really a lot of like 308 ammo, which my sniper uses. While I was also in Diamond City, I also got the opportunity to talk with a doctor and then get my radiation checked up. So at least now I will have full health now, and hopefully I won't have to swim any more rivers. I went back to Sanctuary Hills to get some loot and find a black suit, and I also went to the Red Rocket truck stop in order to get dog meat. And JFK did have a dog law in office. So I finally found a black suit, and now we're finally looking really presidential now.
I traveled back to Diamond City so I could buy a whole bunch of chems, so dealing with the Triggerman and Vault 114 to save Nick Valentine won't be that hard. I also traveled to Vault 81 to see if I could buy the Overseer's Guardian, and usually when you enter the vault you have to give them 3 fusion cores, but since I had level 12 charisma, I was able to pass the speech check, but unfortunately I did not have enough caps to buy the Overseer's Guardian. Although I believe it is technically a sniper, so I will be allowed to use it, but I will probably have to work for it. Also, on the way to Vault 114, I ran into a sentry bot, so I had to pretty much, run for my life, because I had no ammo, and I needed to save ammo as much as possible, so that was just absolutely fun. And also, Dogby got hurt, so that was great. So I got into the Park Street station, and I killed a couple of the first guys, but I quickly ran out of ammo, unfortunately, and I had to resort to a lot of gun bashing, which took forever. I had to use a lot of heals. I got crippled very often, but I finally rescued Nick Valentine and went to go fight Skinny Malone. During the fight, I was still out of 308 ammo, but before the fight started, I was able to convince his wife to just kill him, so that made it a bit easier, which I thought was kind of funny. I also got this interesting voice line from Nick because I didn't go to his office when I went to Diamond City.
How do you know to find me down in that old vault?
Honestly, I was just there at the right time. Seemed like you needed help.
When I traveled back to Diamond City, I bought a whole bunch of 308 ammo with all the caps I got from the stuff from the Triggerman, so ammo shouldn't be much of a problem anymore. What's next is pretty straightforward. I do the interview with Nick Valentine. I go convince the mayor with my high charisma to give me the key to Kellogg's house. I raid Kellogg's house, get all of his materials and ammo from it, and I take dog meat to go search for clues to go find Kellogg. While on the way, I got jumped by a Yaguai. It killed dog meat, of course, and then I also get attacked by a bunch of stingwings on top of that. And I have a sniper, so I can't even shoot it that fast, and the Yaguai has a higher level than me. So I got to Fort Hagen, and I just got my shit completely rocked. Like, there was no way I was gonna I had enough ammo to fight all the Synths and Kellogg. I was gonna have to do a lot of gun bashing, so I needed the Overseer's Guardian. So basically, what I had to do is that I went to some different places, got a bunch of junk, and then sold it back to vendors, so I could raise enough caps to go buy the Overseer's Guardian. While in Diamond City, I noticed that someone threw a bunch of pistol ammo in a garbage can. I have no idea why. That seems like a pretty useful resource in Fallout, but whatever. So I was able to buy the Overseer's Guardian, and I also bought some 45 caliber ammo. But I also ran into another problem, is that the Overseer's Guardian is an automatic rifle. So I had to go to my bench, or my workshop or whatever, and I had to convert it into a sniper, so I made it a semi-automatic, and I made the barrel longer. So I made my way back to Fort Hagen, and it was a lot easier, but one funny thing did happen, is that, of course, I'm terrible at this game, so I ended up dying, but for some reason, when I died, what happened was that the gun just got removed from my hands, but my hands were still there, so honestly, you could have easily photoshopped a dildo in there. So I got to Kellogg, and to be honest, the Overseer's Guard absolutely obliterated him. I couldn't tell who was blown away faster, either him or JFK. I go to the memory den in order to scan Kellogg's brain chip, and I arguably complete one of the most boring quests in the entire game. Like, whoever designed this honestly needs to get fired, because this is one of the most boring quests in the entire game. You just run around in Kellogg's brain and it's like nothing to do, just listen to dialogue. But we do find out that our son is getting teleported to the Institute, so we know how to get there now. So we went to the glowing sea in order to find Virgil, and he told us to go find a Courser chip in order to build the teleporter. So I head over to the Green Tech Genetics in order to kill the Courser, which was pretty easy. And then I headed over to the Old North Church in order to meet up with the railroad. As a side note, making the password to your door the name of your organization might be the most retarded things ever, because like it's gonna be so easy to get in. Like, are you trying to like fool them or something? So far in this video, you might have been wondering why I haven't talked to Preston yet. That's because I didn't have enough like good weapons to fight the Deathclaw. So, but I'm finally going to help Preston. I mean, it's usually I usually never wait this long to help Preston, and he's kind of annoying anyway, always asking about settlement requests and stuff. But I'm finally gonna help him now. So for the ending, I'm going to side with the Minutemen because they're basically U.S. soldiers, and I'm gonna be the president that leads them, obviously. And when I got back to Sanctuary Hills after saving the Minutemen from Concord, I was talking with Preston. And he does not give a shit at all that my son was kidnapped. It's low-key kind of funny.
Should have listened to Mama Murphy. You say you were frozen. Anybody else make it out with you?
My son. The Institute kidnapped him while I was still trapped. I've been trying to get him back.
Damn. I'm sorry. I hope you find him. Let me know if there's any way I can help. Anyway, I am glad you're here. And I hope you don't mind, but I've got another favor to ask.
Solid enough to do the trick.
And I also decided that it was time to, fix up Sanctuary Hills, so I talked to Sturgis, and then I began fixing up, Sanctuary Hills and stuff. And I also began construction on the White House, so yeah, I'm gonna build, like, a makeshift of the White House. So here's the White House. I know it's not great, but, like, what can you expect living in a nuclear apocalypse? So, first, I mean, I could add some stuff to the bottom floor. You have American flags, and then you have 2 beds for me and the First Lady. So, but it's good for a nuclear wasteland, so it's pretty cool.
I don't think I ever told you what
So,
happened.
in order to get the Minutemen ending, you need to help some settlements, and I had some pretty weird experiences happen. I got killed by the Enclave, so a bunch of soldiers, which is kind of weird and ironic because if you know anything about the Enclave, they're the remnants of the U.S. government. So they basically just killed the president. And another time, this guy from this one farm made me risk my entire life to go kill a bunch of raiders to get a locket back. And then another time, I was trying to get between settlements, and then I ended up getting attacked by a super mutant behemoth twice. So that's just fun. So I went to the castle to go clear it out of Mirelurks, and then I went on to defeat the Queen Mirelurk, which was not very difficult. At Sanctuary Hills, I began to construct the teleporter with the help of Sturgis, and I got teleported into the Institute. So I supposedly found my son, but I know if I was playing as RFK, this son would probably be talking about how I should eat uncooked rad roaches, and he wouldn't allow me to eat sugar bombs and bathe in radiation.
Call code.
So I found out who my actual son is, and he's pretty old, and he looks like a pretty normal guy. So thank God I'm not playing as RFK.
Excuse me.
I found this one scientist called Dr. Lee, and if you don't know, she is a scientist that worked for the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 3. So I guess all my hard work that I did in Fallout 3 just didn't matter to her for the Brotherhood. So I went back to the castle, and I talked with Ronnie to open up the secret bunker that's within the castle that has a whole bunch of good loot and stuff like that. And this will be very important when it comes to defending the castle from the Institute. So for some reason, like when I was clearing out the tunnel to get to all the treasure and stuff, Ronnie like glitched out, so I had to fight the sentry bot all by myself with dog meat, which was kind of annoying because sentry bots are way higher level than I am, and I'm only allowed to use snipers. So when I got to the bunker, I found schematics to build artillery, which will be very important in protecting the castle from the Institute. So I went back to the Institute because in order to have the Institute be hostile to me to get the Minutemen ending, I have to like betray them. So I went up to Father and I just straight up JFK'd his ass. This next part was extremely difficult to escape the Institute. I just kept dying over and over and over again because I have no armor and I'm only allowed to use a sniper, so I always have to zoom in, and it's kind of hard to hip fire, and I didn't really know how to escape the Institute, and it was just very, very annoying and not fun. So as you can see, I died so many times. I even tried doing the strategy where I would camp in one room like it was a game of like Call of Duty Zombies and like knock their totem. Like I had no idea how to get out, so I would just camp in that room and just try and kill as many enemies as I can. So I mean, it was literally like I was playing like COD Zombies. But eventually I remembered how to get out. I popped a stealth boy and then I hopped right into the elevator to go up and take the emergency relay to teleport out of the Institute. Now, with all that settled, it is now time to defend the castle from the Institute. I traveled back to the castle in order to beef up a lot of our defenses, like adding energy turrets that were in the bunker and building some new turrets. This was probably the hardest part of the whole challenge. I was crippled for most of the fight because I was running low on stim packs, so I couldn't do much, and the coursers always were invisible. It made it very hard to kill them, and you had all these synths come in, and a lot of the Minutemen soldiers who were helping me died in the fight, so it got harder as it moves on. One strategy that kind of made this fight a bit easier is that I would just sit in the halls of the castle, and like what I did in the Institute, I would just wait for enemies to come, but since it was not as much as the Institute, it was a lot more manageable.
News for you.
But all in all, we defended the castle, and now we were going to strike back at the Institute for revenge. Before the fight with the Institute, I went to Diamond City in order to buy and steal some more food supplies and medical supplies because that became a pretty big issue to fight for the castle. So in order to get to the Institute without teleportation, you have to find the sewer tunnel, and honestly, I'm surprised nobody else found this because it's honestly not that hard to find, and it was pretty loosely defended. Like there was not a lot of synths down there. Honestly, I had a harder time just fighting the ghouls and stuff down there. So I teleported the Minutemen to the Institute so we can fight them, and maybe the Institute has oil, so we'll see. To be honest, most of this mission felt like a Call of Duty campaign. It's all linear and stuff. You just rush down to get to the nuclear reactor and blow it up, and it was all shooting and chaos and action. I hacked the terminal in order to allow access to the nuclear reactor in order to blow it up, and then I called an evacuation, ordered all Institute scientists. And another thing to add on to that, something that's very funny, is that after that I found Father just levitating sideways off of his couch or whatever, which was very weird. I guess he just came back, or he was like a ghost or something. I don't know. So, in the reactor room, I had a pretty big problem, is that this one legendary synth with a rocket launcher kept killing me, and it was super annoying. He even at one time blew my head off with the rocket launcher, which was super difficult and very annoying to deal with, but I eventually killed him, and then I put the fusion pulse charge on the reactor. So when I got back, I found out that my fake son was asking to get out of the Institute. I could have been like Homelander and just abandoned my son and leave him there and don't care about him and stuff, but at the end of the day, JFK, he did have children in the White House, and his family there, so I had to take him in, I guess. Even though he's not even my real son, he's a synth. So we blew up the Institute, and it turns out we were the ones with nuclear weapons, so the Institute is no more, and no more people are going to be getting kidnapped by the Institute anymore. So that's going to conclude this challenge. It was a pretty fun challenge, although it was kind of difficult at some times. Probably the most difficult part about this challenge was just no armor, that you had to wear a suit the entire time, and it kind of made it difficult because, especially with a lot of the synths, they always just spam lasers at you, and it's very difficult because obviously my suit doesn't have any energy resistance. All in all, if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe down below, and I will see you all later. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.